Strawberry ice today. I am currently messing my.
Okay, so what has happened was I finished a sleeve. This one. I finished this sleeve, and then I finished this sleeve with another style. I did the decreases a little bit different and I like this one more, and I did the ribbing a little bit bigger. So now, hi Shetika, now I need to do the same on this oh my god, on this rib, and then I'll be completely finished. I'll have to block it once again. I know you can see the decreases, they're not very nice, so I'm hoping that in the blocking they will look a little bit better. And I don't know, for the life of me, I don't know why I didn't think about switching to smaller size needle earlier, because as you can see it's much nicer than this. So now I'm switching to a smaller size needle from 4 to 3, and I'm going to do the ribbing. Hopefully I will finish, and then I can go to bed rested and ready for another challenge, another day. Okay, and my computer is making some very weird sounds. It's actually making me quite nervous. Okay, so I'm at 58 stitches. 58 stitches. 58 stitches. Let's put on some music. Shetika, I'm sure the blocking will diminish it. Oh god, I hope you're so right. Because honestly, this sweater is giving me the... Frul, is that doggo over there? Yes, this is my dog Remy. We just went outside and it is quite cold. and now he is warming up, sitting on the blanket that I made for me. The sweater is getting ready. Hopefully, yes. I hope it will be finished soon because you guys, I've been working on it today and I have to admit I just was not smart about it, and that's why I made these mistakes. I tried multiple ways to decrease in a way which looks very polished, and I was not very successful at that. So this will have to do. My only solution was to take smaller size needles, and this radically changed the knitting. It looks so much better. And as Shetika says, during the blocking I will stretch it, I will allow it to, to grow, to expand, and to just like fill in all these holes, because that's the problem though. For some reason the wall, and also I've been knitting and unraveling and knitting and unraveling, and this made the wall kind of kinky, and now I cannot even do nice stitches, and it creates sometimes bulk, sometimes it creates holes. So I'm hoping that when I'll block it, I'll leave it into the water, and it will have like this effect of, swallowing and filling in all of these holes. Hehe, nice. Have a good evening for you both. Thank you so much. Victor Gonzalez Cortez. Hello, my love. One kiss from Chile. Hello. Hi. Okay, let's continue. And I'm trying to knit as tight as possible so that it don't create any more spaces. Okay. You're crocheting a sweater, Shetika Woods? Oh my god. Is it raglan style? Top down? RKGH says, where are you from? I'm from Chisinau, Moldova. Hold on, sorry. Oh my god. Hello. I'm from Chisinau, Moldova, right next to Ukraine, if you know Ukraine, where it is. I'm very close. Oh my god, let's watch this lady. Hold on. She will show how she makes a blanket from all the scraps. Oh my god.
I have this entire bag full of random sock yarn scraps and different little cut up bits of ends of things. And I have spent, I think, over a year now working on my dream project, which is to turn it into a hexy puff blanket. The original project is called Beekeeper's Quilt, although I have taken inspiration from Claude of Retro Claude because she figured out that it's basically just the heel and toe shaping of a sock to make a hexy puff. I decided to go with the English paper piecing pattern of flowers, very similar to Retro Claude. I have previously completed 5 complete flowers, and I have figured out, I think, 4 different ways to make them. Firstly, the very original method, which is hand knitting the hexy puffs, takes me about 30 minutes per puff. Secondly, I used my circular sock machine because on my circular sock machine I can make heels and toes, but that required grafting right in the middle of a puff. So rather than grafting the stitches at the top here, I had to graft across the middle of the hexy puff, and that left some uneven finishes and was hard to stuff a hexy like that. The third way was on my flatbed knitting machine. The first way was just knitting it flat, and then I had to sew up the sides. That took quite a long time. The fourth method is that you can actually knit circularly on a flatbed machine if you have a ribber. That was the fastest of all, had very neat edges, but was very prone sometimes to dropping stitches, so wasn't also my favorite method, which is why today we're going to try the 5th method of making hexy puffs on my flatbed machine with just one bed. And I mentioned this in the last video update that I did on my hexy puff blanket.
Hold on. Hello everybody. Hi. Oh, where am I from? I'm from Chisinau, Moldova. This is a country near Ukraine and Romania. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hi. So, привет. Яне Строд, привет. Привет. Flashback, привет, привет. So, Shetika is crocheting back, then front, then sleeves, doing front with pockets. I usually do raglan top down. Ooh, I remember when I was a student. Hold on. Sorry for the noise. Hold on. I remember when I was a student, I was doing the crochet like this. First the front, then the back, then the sleeves and everything. And then when I was trying to put, hold on, I'm so sorry. Then when I was trying to put everything together, they were not perfectly aligned. So when I discovered the all together method, I decided to do that. I no longer do pieces. But with pockets, I usually do raglan top down with pockets. I've never crocheted pockets. I guess it's just like a piece and then you sew it. Do you sew all the pieces together or do you also crochet everything together?
Because I realized that I had interpreted some instructions incorrectly, and you can knit it flat on the bed, like re-sew it as you're knitting it. So we're going to take a look at this one hexy puff. So on the flatbed machine, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to knit towards the top, and then I'm going to start
Hold on, you don't
increasing
see
again.
the
When I start
magical
increasing again, I'm going to
blanket.
start hanging the stitches that I've already knit at the bottom here back on the needles. So I'm going to be sewing up the sides as I'm knitting the hexy puffs. I have 5 of these flowers made, so let's see how many more flowers I can make on the machine. Enough yapping, let's hop it over to the knitting. It just really helps me kind of process my day, process my life, process what's going on. Hop. Yes! So does Nutella. She makes everything absolutely better. I always call her my dental assistant because I don't know why, but she's obsessed with my mouth. And I have to admit that I have been having a hard week. But yeah, being creative and creating things helps me on those times that are really rough and really hard. I wish that I could involve you more in the making of some of these hexy puffs today. You'll probably just get a lot of footage of me making them. And I don't need to put this here as like bait, like to garner sympathy, just to let you all know that I still want to be doing these things and I still want to be creating things, and creating things helps me immensely. I'm just not as able to be quite as talkative as I might usually be. I might have been a little bit more energetic in the intro. I don't know. I haven't filmed it yet. The magic of these videos is that I actually tend to film my intros last so that I have a little bit better understanding of what happened in a project so that I can introduce it to you more appropriately, if that makes sense. I've already created 2 flowers worth of squares. I'm hoping to do one more. Like, I want to do this flower worth of squares and then I want to do one more. Yeah, there's hiccups and things that I would usually want to include for you all, or like talking through my thought process and things, but I don't have it in me right now, and I still want to share the process of.
Wait, what? I've seen people wrap the yarn around the finger many times as one knits or crochet. I've tried. I don't like that. I do like you. Wrap the yarn around the finger. Oh, okay. Oh, you mean this one. Excellent, excellent. I was wondering about the crochet. I don't know what I have asked you earlier. I already forgot. I'm sorry. I asked if you do the top down and you replied, and then I forgot.
Making these hexy puffs with you. So please know that when I'm showing you this, I'm showing you the ones that are going well. I'm probably not including the ones that aren't going very well, even though that's what I usually like to do. Is I usually like to show that nothing in crafting is straightforward always, and there will be hiccups, but part of it is working through those hiccups or figuring out what to do. I finished one little hexy puff though, and I'm going to do 5 more of this one. This yarn is kind of fun because it's a very, very slow gradient from orange to red, and I'm at the orange portion. And I don't know if I'll get to the red portion by the end of these hexes. This is something that I'm going to be very interested in. Like, look at that. Do you see that orange bit? And then it goes to red. So I'm wondering if I'll make it to there. It is a gradual, like it's a long gradient, but the gradient change is quite quick. So each color stays around for a long time, but the switch between colors is kind of fast. It's the same kind of gradient that I used to make these socks. And like, look how quick that switch was from the darker blue to the lighter green. So I have one entirely blue sock and one that's half and half because the switch happened so quickly. So I'm very curious to see if I'll reach where the switch is, and if we do, how much of the hexy puff that'll take up. I'll probably put you on a time lapse, and I will see you after I make quite a few more.
Doar o dată în an, reduceri de până la 70%. Black Friday la Bomba. Televizor Samsung de 127 cm.
Rehidron este soluția ideală. Ia-l cu tine oriunde. Se diluează doar cu apă. Rehidron îți redă rapid energia.
Are off the machine. I love doing them this way because I feel like I'm making, honestly, a little garland of hexy puffs.
Am I losing my mind? What am I doing?
Maybe a headband? Okay, I kind of like this one. In terms of color shift, we are so close. So I'll let you compare two of them. This is the very first one, and this is the last one. I don't know if you can see, but there are just the starts of some red stripes going on there. So if you look at the yarn itself, in the middle there, we are basically done with the orange, and it's going all into the red now. So if I had one more hexy puff to do, I think it would be entirely red. But we are just shifting into the red now, which makes me kind of want to work with this yarn a little bit more. Or let me show you some of the other options.
Yay.
So I can
I'm
also
at the end of
do
one color.
the blue-green ones. This is the one that I made the socks out of before as well. Yay. It's got the same gradient. We'd have the
Go
same
into
suspense
the
as before where we're watching out for that color change. Or I have this like fun flecked one. So it's mostly beiges, and then it has a few stripes of blue in it, which are also kind of fun. I've done a few like solid color or long color gradients, and I like the ones that have like lots of little color changes because they look really fun. Let me show you what I've done so far. So I started off this process working on this green one. Absolutely beautiful. We've only got 3 on this chain. Are 6 in total of the green ones. It's just that I was trying out different techniques until I settled on that one. Then I did, oh, this is one of my other favorites. I wish I would have saved the yarn band for this. This absolutely stunning purple. I have a little bit more yarn of this left. I could probably do another 6 in this purple. The one you just saw me do, the very orangey red one, another really fun one in my opinion, which has a lot of quick color changes, is this stripy pastel, almost pastel-y, purple, orange, pink. Another one like, what if I did? Oh, yes. I love it. I also realized one of the reasons I might not be feeling so good today, sometimes I miss the signs. I've got a migraine. Did take medicine that I have, so I'll be okay. It just definitely saps my energy and my focus a little bit. I just want to show a little bit more reality. One of the feedback that I've gotten often in my videos is that you appreciate, you know, I'll come on camera with like greasy hair, or I'll show my space and it's an actual complete mess, or I'll show my process and show how many times I really mess up. So this is just how I've been feeling this week. I'm gonna do one more set of 6, because that'll be the 6 flower petals around the center, and then we'll see if I'm in the mood to do the flower centers. When I was starting these, it was between like 13 and 15 minutes per hexy puff, so a set of 6 takes me about an hour and a half to do. I will see you in a second. I'm going to be doing 6 hexy puffs with this. They're off the machine. The last set of 6 flower petals I'll be doing today. Let me show you a little bit of a close-up. I really like how the multicolor pattern bits of this have turned out. I like the speckles and the beige stripes, just how it all comes together. I have a lot of options of how I can put this flower together, and the front and the back will be quite different on this one, which is also another fun thing. I timed myself. The fastest petal that I made of these lovely flower petals was 8 minutes and 40 seconds, but on average it was like around 10 minutes now, so I shaved a good 5 minutes off of making each one of these. So rather than taking an hour and a half to make 6, I only take an hour. The last thing that I'll do before going to bed is create 5 yellow centers. I'll see you when the 5 centers for the flowers are done. Here we go. So I realized that I already have 1 made yellow center and I only need to make 4. Also, I've been eating a ton of chocolate, so if my mouth is brown, that's why. It's full of chocolate. Very sunny, very happy. We've got a lot of these petals done, but we are a far cry from having a hexy puff flower created because all of these need to be stuffed and then sewn up and then sewn together, but I think that'll be something that I tackle on another day. So I will see you then. Welcome to my little crafting corner here. I have some of the fully finished hexy puffs. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 strips left to finish. I finished the green strip, all of the yellow centers, and I'm going to finish the rest of these colorful hexy puff strips. They're really fun. I love these little strips. Let me show you the results and tell you how long it takes. So you might be wondering exactly what goes into stuffing one of these hexy puffs, and you probably saw it, but I have this bag of just random scraps, either balls that are just not going to be long enough to turn into anything, way too many knots where I'm just not willing to untangle it, samples from the knitting machine that I don't think I can undo and reuse, and that is literally what I am using to stuff my hexy puffs. So my hexy puffs are stuffed with scrap yarn. That's how I use up the scrap yarn. So any lengths that aren't long enough to turn into a hexy puff will get still used in the hexy puff as it's stuffing. When I weave in ends on my finished knitting and I snip off that little extra bit, I also throw this in this bag and I save that to stuff my future hexy puffs. I just finished the last hexy puff of this series and I've been timing myself on how long it takes, and it's about 5 minutes, just over 5 minutes. So for 6 of them, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, let's call it a good 30 minutes. And I still have 3 more strips of these to go. So it's going to be an hour and a half to finish all of these 3. So I guess at this point, let's calculate how long a flower takes. So a flower is 7 hexy puffs. Each hexy takes me 10 minutes. So that's 70 minutes plus 30 minutes of finishing, because it's 7 times 5 minutes, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, oh, it is 30. I can't even do math, so it's 35 minutes, including the center, so it's 70 plus 35 is 105 minutes, which is over an hour and a half per little hexy flower. And I have some math up on the computer for the size of blanket I want to make and how many of those hexy puff flowers I want to do. I'm going to talk to you about that in just a minute. Let me just finish up the rest of these, so I guess I'll see you in like an hour and a half. And that's not even actually finishing it because I haven't tied the hexies to each other yet. Let me finish up all the rest of the hexies and then we'll talk about finishing them and how much this entire project might take me in terms of time. Like how much time? How long? Oh, my brain is still a little muddled, can you tell? So as a bit of a reminder, this is where I started. I had 5 of these flowers or rosettes. They are all attached to each other just at the corners here, but not attached flower to flower, just the petals to the center. And here is everything I just finished over the last few days. This definitely took longer than an hour and a half. Oh, Nutella is already sitting on them, which I love. I'm glad she finds it very comfortable. But now it's time for me to connect, I think first the petals to the centers. One thing I wanted to talk about is the way that some of these are connected. This one feels pretty good, but this one, I don't know, I think that is gonna fall apart. So I actually think that I want to mattress stitch each one of the petals to the center of everything and not just at the corner. Look at this beautiful configuration of hexy puff flowers. I'm so happy with them. I think they look beautiful. We've got 10 puffs done. I would say from starting on the machine of making each individual one, filling them, connecting them together, it's about 2 hours to finish one flower. So, I mean, a lot of the older ones took me longer, but we'll just assume this new timing estimate of 2 hours for all the flowers, which means that with my 10 flowers so far, I am 20 hours into this project, and I still have this many ends to weave in per flower, and they need to be attached to each other. I'm thinking about making a blanket that's big enough to cover my bed. I'm kind of a princess. I sleep by myself in a king-size bed, but that means that I used an online calculator for English paper piecing hexagons. For that, I need 87 flowers. So I've done 10, so I guess 77 more, and each time that's like over 150 hours of work, which I can do, and I'm excited to look forward to doing, but I also don't think I have enough yarn for that. So of the scrap yarn that I have left, I think I can maybe make another 5 flowers like I did now, and I don't have enough for the yellow center anymore, so I'd actually have to buy yarn to make up this blanket, which seems a little antithetical to the idea that it created it. Like, you can 100% create this blanket with 100% new yarn, but I just kind of wanted to use it as a way to use up my scraps and make like a memory of each bit of it. Like, there's meaning tied to each flower that I make. So an idea that I just want to float to you all is asking for your help. Jenna Phipps, I know she's doing a huge house renovation right now, but a while back I was so inspired by her flower dress, and she asked her viewers to send in some flowers for her to make the entire dress. So I was thinking, what if I ask you to make like 6 matching flower petals?
Oh, stop it.
Like, stuff them, make them up, and turn them into flowers for my quilt, and that would be so meaningful because each flower would be from one of you. I'm floating it out there right now. I'm not holding myself to it. I'm not holding you all to it. Please let me know what you think about that idea in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching this iteration of the Hex and Puff quilt, then I have 2 more here that you can watch that you might be interested in the earlier versions and the other ways that I've explored to make these hexy puffs, so take a look at that. You might be interested. I know our time is precious, so thank you for choosing to spend this time with me, and I hope that I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye!
What if you had just about any health and wellness product you need right in your pocket? With the iHerb app, you kind of do.
Sweet.
We carry over 15,000 of your favorite health and wellness products.
That's a lot.
From top quality vitamins, healthy baby products, and your pet's favorite food and supplements, to that secret yet somehow still viral beauty product.
OMG, my pores rejoice.
You can find just about anything you need on the iHerb app. Products for a healthy pregnancy, baby, joints, muscles, beauty, workout. It's just one of the many ways we make wellness better. iHerb.
Hold on, do I have 48 or not? Please tell me. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. Okay. 24 on one side, and on this side, give me 24, please, because I am not unraveling again. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. Yes! Guys, you have no idea how much this mattered to me, because I have done and redone these sleeves like 6 times, because one did not match the other, and then the second was longer than the first. So like I need to finish. So 48 stitches, we are good to go. That being said, I'm starting the ribbing. Let me double check if I have the right color. Yeah, it is the right color, because earlier I started with a more brownie chocolate. This is reddish chocolate. For some reason I mixed the colors. RKG, hey meow, hello. Okay, so let's focus, please. Let's focus, let's finish, because I am so tired. Like, I can't feel one of my legs. Okay. Ooh, let's watch a video about libraries.
Our main story tonight concerns books. You know, beloved works like The Great Gatsby, Charlotte's Web, and The Berenstain Bears. And you might think Berenstain is misspelled there. You might remember it as S-T-E-I-N, but that's wrong. It's a weird Mandela effect thing that a lot of people misremember, but it's always been the Berenstain Beavers. It was always spelled with an A. Specifically, we're going to be talking about public libraries, which of course lend books, but increasingly have become so much more than that.
Sure, you can check out books and DVDs here at Placentia Library, but now you can also check out one of these.
You can also check out a fishing pole and keep it for 3 weeks. You can check out a really neat telescope and have a star party with your family.
Alongside books and movies are things like air fryers and bundt cake pans.
If you want to plant a garden, we have seeds that you can check out.
I don't know of anywhere else that they can borrow a mounted sandhill crane and just study it up close.
What?
Yeah, I'll bet there isn't anywhere else that you can borrow a mounted sandhill crane because, according to taxidermy.net message boards, they're very difficult to mount. When a user named Eric asked for sandhill crane mounting information before I tackle these tall guys, one person said, so you know in advance you will use every curse word when you are wiring the legs, while someone called Greg suggested contacting a magazine that had covered the topic recently saying, quote, I am not a bird guy, but I remember reading that article and thinking it was fairly easy, which, shut up, Greg. Sit this one out. Eric's clearly stressing you, telling him to call a magazine. He's reaching out to his community for support, and you're not that community right now. You're not a bird guy. Well, this is a bird guys only combo, okay, Greg? Fuck you.
What?
The point is, at some libraries, you can now borrow pretty much anything, from a fishing pole to a leaf blower to seeds to a copy of a Berenstain Badger's book. Again, your memory is wrong. Berenstain Badgers was always spelled B-A-R. There was never an E in there. Not just that, though. Libraries offer internet access, translation help, notary services, printing, and a bunch of other necessities. They're also a refuge for unhoused people or those without air conditioning or heating, all of which explains why libraries are incredibly popular, garnering an estimated 4 million visits every day, mostly by young adults, women, and low-income households. But as you probably know from the fact that I'm talking about libraries right now, they're in trouble because they've become another front in the ongoing culture war. We've talked before about how conservatives have targeted school libraries, but those debates have now emphatically migrated over to public libraries as well, with residents spouting talking points like these.
I do not want our children, grandchildren seeing these books. I feel they're damaging psychologically.
It isn't left versus right, but it's right versus wrong. These books are wrong, and they're destroying our community.
Books in our taxpayer-funded libraries make the jobs of human and child traffickers easier.
What?
Okay, that last one sounds a little hard to believe unless one of the books at that library happens to be child trafficking for dummies. But those aren't isolated instances. The American Library Association documented efforts to censor over 4,200 unique book titles last year in schools and libraries, the highest level they've ever recorded, with the number of titles targeted for censorship at public libraries in particular rising by 92% from the previous year. And that's not all. Bomb threats have been called into libraries across the country, and librarians themselves have been the recipients of some pretty nasty abuse.
I had heard people saying that I was a pedophile, I was grooming kids.
People in my profession called pedophiles. And
What?
Horrible.
What is
horrible
happening?
I can say unequivocally we
to
are
the
not
United
pedophiles or
States?
groomers, and I can say that on behalf of our staff. That is not why we go into public service or librarianship.
Yeah, of course not. That is why you go into the clergy. Everybody knows that. We all know. So, given all of this, tonight, let's talk about public libraries, why they're under attack, where these challenges are coming from, and what the consequences might be. And let's start with how public libraries operate, because generally, they receive the vast majority of their funding from local government sources, and they're typically overseen by a local library board, which can either be elected or appointed by members of the local government. And librarians actually get rid of books all the time through a process known as weeding. Weeding is done for all sorts of good reasons, like a book being out of date, severely damaged, or simply so weird no one wants to check it out anymore. Books like body watching is fun. Latanya, the naughty horse, learns to say no to drugs. And the Christian child discipline classic, God, the Rod, and Your Child's Bot. Fun fact, a new copy of that is currently selling on Amazon for $214. So if you don't want to pay that, you better hope your local library has it. Or you know what? You can actually just borrow my copy here instead. It's fine. But what we're talking about tonight isn't weeding. It's books being removed or relocated from one section to another purely for their content. And most libraries already have a book challenge protocol, allowing anyone who feels that a book violates its selection policies to submit a formal request for reconsideration, after which staff will review the complaint and decide whether to leave it, reshelve it, or remove it entirely. And you should know, there are some legal limits here. You can't just demand a book be banned, even if it is to protect the children. And that's because, through the years, the Supreme Court has recognised that speech cannot be suppressed solely to protect the young from ideas or images that a legislative body thinks unsuitable for them. But there's an exception when it comes to obscenity, which for minors is defined as material that appeals to their prurient interest, is offensive to prevailing standards about what is suitable for minors, and lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. The problem is, some have tried to apply that standard incredibly broadly. Take what happened in Huntington Beach, California, where the city council mandated that library books containing any content of sexual nature be moved away from anyone under 18.
At the direction of the Huntington Beach City Council, librarians at the Central Library are starting to sort through thousands of books in the children's section. Their task, according to officials, is to relocate books that contain, quote, sexual content. Library staff began in the health section and pulled books pertaining to the human body and puberty. We also saw books about boats that were being moved. A peek at the pages show a child in a bathtub playing with toy boats and a sketch of early explorers.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it wasn't just shirtless rowers and kids in tubs that got flagged. That resolution ultimately relocated books like Own Your Period, Puberty is Gross but Also Really Awesome, and Everyone Poops to the adult section of the library. And it is ridiculous to do that, especially when you're keeping Shel Silverstein books in the kids area. Books which contain actual author photos like this one. If a kid borrows Runny Babbit, reads it to the end and sees that photo, don't be surprised if their first question is, Mummy, what's big dick energy? And that is not an isolated case. In one town in Texas, officials removed 3 books from the I Need a New Butt series, which is a children's book about a boy who needs a new butt because his has a crack. And I haven't read it yet, so don't spoil the end by telling me if he gets one or not. They also pulled 4 books about farts, starring a goose, a snowman, a heart, and a leprechaun. And first, you've got to be pretty stupid to believe that they are harmful to children. And second, it does seem that you can make a killing writing books about farting, because there are so many of them, including, and these are all real, ones about farting flamingos, farting unicorns, farting turkeys, farting princesses, farting dragons, and of course, Gary the farting gingerbread man. And while those instances were one-offs, increasingly, the list of books challenged at libraries can be suspiciously similar. And that is because challenges are often coming through highly organised groups, often conservative and extremely religious, who are compiling and sharing lists of books to oppose. Up until 2021, the vast majority of challenges only sought to remove or restrict a single book. But now, 93% of them involve attempts to censor multiple titles, with more than half involving 100 or more books. And that starts to make sense when you see how these groups operate. Take Clean Up Samuels, which is sadly not a group organised around the collective goal of washing as many guys named Samuel as possible. Instead, it refers to Samuel's Public Library in Front Royal, Virginia. The groups held events at which people filled out over 500 forms, challenging nearly 150 books, with one event promising beer and babysitting, which might be the most divorced dad activity I can think of. Okay, kids, get in the car. I need to go protect your innocence by drinking beer and looking at babysitters. Those book challenges heavily targeted books with LGBTQ+ characters or themes, with people frequently admitting, when asked if they'd read the books in full, that they hadn't, with answers ranging from no to who that is normal could get through it, to I looked at the summary, it told me all I needed to know. And that is possible because these groups often find problematic books by scanning websites and Facebook pages that list them, like Mary in the Library, Rated Books, and perhaps the most prevalent, Book Looks. And for a site set up as a moral crusader, it is a bit weird that in their logo, the B and the L are fucking. I mean, like, definitely fucking, right? I know sometimes I project horniness when it isn't there, except for that Shel Silverstein photo, because I'm dying on that hill. But I'm having a genuinely hard time seeing anything in that logo that isn't a strong B taking a willing L and absolutely breaking its back. Book Looks rates books on a 0 to 5 scale from least to most objectionable, sometimes including a handy chart noting the amount of times that certain words are used. For instance, this is the chart for the book Wicked. And I'll just say, if there was a party game where you had to guess a book or movie based solely on one of those charts, you could sell, no exaggeration, 10 million of those games. Okay, so let me see. It's a novel from 2001, 24 fucks. Ooh, so it's not Life of Pi, not the other Boleyn girl. Hang on, 9 dicks? Wait, is it Choke by Chuck Palahniuk? Yes! 24 fucks, yes, I love this game! Even our book, A Day in the Life of Marlon Brando, which has been challenged a bunch in libraries, is criticised for featuring alternate sexualities and controversial political and social commentary. Citing the illustration on this page depicts 2 male rabbits holding paws as a human would hold another person's hand. The rabbits are discussing how much they love each other and want to marry one another. You know, filth. But that is clearly nonsense. If there is anything controversial in our book, it's that the animals dress up for weddings, but at other times they're mostly naked, except for this badger whose arms turn into sleeves. And even then, the problem isn't the implied nakedness, it's just the lack of consistency there. Now, to be fair, some titles on these lists do contain explicit content. In some cases, they're books about puberty, in others, they may be meant for teenagers and contain references to sex, which is exactly why they're not shelved with children's books to begin with. Libraries generally have an adult section, a young adult section, and a kids section. It is not like teen books with explicit content are shelved right next to the Berenstain Bees book. Yeah, it's always been spelled E-E-N. Your memory's just very bad. But the content often gets framed in extremely misleading ways. For instance, the book Let's Talk About It has been repeatedly challenged. It's billed as the teen's guide to sex, relationships, and being a human. And here is how one mom in Iowa argued for it to be restricted at her local library.
When I initially read this book, I was filled with anger. Quote, sending or getting an unwanted, saucy something from a partner or individual can be the highlight of your day, period. It is thrilling, sexy, and fun. The online world is also a chock-block full of pornography professionals and amateurs alike sharing their sexy adventures online. There is nothing wrong with enjoying some porn. It is a fun, sugary treat. I have to pause because no matter how many times I say these words, it scares me.
Okay. First, porn is a sugary treat. Sounds like the tagline for an upcoming X-rated spin on gummy bears, an adult film that either exists already or will shortly after this episode ends. But look, those words are in the book. And if you go on Book Looks, you'll see they're quoted on their review page. But if you actually read the book itself, you'll see that they are surrounded by a lot of careful advice. For instance, that one line about sexting has a ton of context around it, with advice like get prior consent, don't share or spread the photos you receive, and wait till you're a legal adult to do it. As for that sugary treat line, it is part of a long, thoughtful discussion that includes, among many other things, that porn can create unrealistic expectations, the people you see on camera are real human beings who deserve your respect, and if the amount of porn you watch feels like it's impacting your life, then it's probably time to pull back and give it some thought, which is good advice. And in a country where 17 states provide abstinence-only sex education, it might be the most honest discussion about porn some teens get, especially if they have the kind of mom who has a fucking panic attack at the very idea of it. And while she will say that she just wanted the library to require parental permission to access the book, which is still a big barrier to a teenager who might need to read it, there have been other attempts to try and get it out of libraries altogether. And you do get the sense that people who want to censor these books can have no real idea of what's inside them, or indeed, if they're even at the libraries they're protesting at all, as happened in Idaho.
5 years ago, this was anointed the best small library in America. Today, the trustees are facing a recall. The director just resigned.
Do you feel that you've given in? That you've been defeated here? That
Part of me does, yes. but they start showing up at your house, guns on their hips and Bible tracts in their hands.
Activists demanding that the library ban more than 400 books, like genderqueer.
Even if we do nothing to you, eventually, if you don't repent of wanting to harm our children with pornography, that's up to God.
Things need to change. Otherwise, you bring curses upon yourselves, period. From the Most High.
Are any of those books in the library?
Not a single one.
Yeah, it's true. Activists demanded that books they hadn't read be removed from a library that didn't have them. Which, as far as protests go, is about as meaningful as marching to the Hollywood sign to demand Frankie Muniz return his Oscar for Schindler's List. He's not there, he wasn't in that, and the very fact that you're protesting this tells me you're probably not familiar with the material. And even after that group was told the library didn't have any of the 400 books they wanted banned, they demanded its board pass a policy promising not to order controversial books, or if they did, to place them in an adults-only room. They also asked the library to judge books under God's standards and not of the world's standards. And you know God, the freak known for building a nude garden he could watch all day. The guy who commissioned the construction of an all-animal fuckboat and who sat back and watched while his own son got nailed. Oh, I'm sorry, am I misunderstanding the Bible by taking things out of context? Forgive me, I haven't read it. I looked at the summary. It told me all I needed to know. And it is worth taking a moment on the book they mentioned there, Genderqueer, because it is the most frequently challenged book in America for the last 3 years running. It's a graphic novel that's the memoir of an author's struggles with gender identity, but it's often reduced out of context to some of its most explicit passages, one of which, you may remember, was read aloud in the Senate last year by John Kennedy.
I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on. It will fit my favorite dildo perfectly. You're going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth.
Oh my God! Stop!
Then I want
Stop, crazy people! Jesus!
It's just a perfect mix of being horrendously disorienting and kind of
God,
delightful. It's like watching a dog
stop!
walk on its hind legs and then watching the same dog say, I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth.
Stop!
It is not unreasonable to say that shouldn't be shelved directly alongside the picture books in the children's section of the library. And you know who agrees with that? The author of the fucking book.
I don't think the book is for children, but I do think that it is appropriate for teen readers, and also that libraries have books for all ages, and you shelve them with signage, and people browse and find the books that they need in a library. And not every book in a library is for every reader, but they still need to be available.
Exactly. It's not a children's book, which is why it's not shelved with them. And that author raises an important distinction there. Some books aren't appropriate for 5-year-olds, but might be if you're 16, because those are two very different phases of life that we don't treat the same way. It's why a 16-year-old driving a car is perfectly legal, and a 5-year-old driving a car is a news story. And yet, for some, keeping books like Genderqueer out of the kids section, where again, it isn't,
5 more rows,
still
friends.
isn't enough.
Children are very literal. They're very impressionable. They're going to look at those pictures and they very much look like children in the pictures. Sex isn't for kids. It has serious consequences. We should not be encouraging them to engage in sexual acts.
In Lapeer, the book is shelved in the adult section, but Park says it's still attractive to children.
I mean, it's beautiful. It really is. It's nature. So I think this would attract any child because it looks like it's cartoonish.
But it's in the adult section. If a child finds it, it's because they're somewhere that they're not supposed to be. So if anything, the kid should get into trouble, not the book. And honestly, that is where the rod comes in. Look, he's eating cookies on the cover. He needs to be stopped. The argument is basically, this can't be on library shelves because a kid could somehow find it. But that is something to which this understandably exasperated librarian in Louisiana has a pretty good response.
I have parents who want these books out of the library because they don't want adults to have access. Because what if my child goes in the adult section? If your child is in the library by itself, or their self, they probably have a phone. In which case, my library is the least of your problems.
Right. This entire debate basically ends the second you remember the existence of the internet. If your child has a phone, they already have access to the most sexualized images you could imagine, by which, of course, I mean this uppercase B taking L on a one-way trip to Pound Town, like the last two letters trying to start a new alphabet. And look, thankfully, not all these challenges are successful. That mom's efforts to get Let's Talk About It restricted at her local library failed. But in many places, even if that happens, the fight isn't over. Because these groups will then campaign to replace members of library boards, sometimes doing so with wildly misleading claims, like in this ad endorsing two Conservative board candidates.
Hi, Mom. I'm home. Hi, honey. I'm in the kitchen. How are you today? How was school?
We went to the library today, and there's a special room for kids. And this funny lady, she read us a book, and she showed us all the pictures in the book. Mommy?
Yes, honey.
What's anal sex?
What? What?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
That, including that no kid hears the words anal sex and then it's like, I'm going to ask my mum
Yeah,
about
nobody
that.
thinks
No,
about
you go to your
like
friend with the oldest older sister and sit with her the whole bus ride home. Also, it is not important, but where the fuck was she going with that dish? I'm not trying to Monday morning quarterback her process. Everything else about her dishwashing is totally normal. You get dressed in your regular chores outfits, no gloves and a spotless sundress. Check and check. Then you wash dishes without any soap. That all makes sense to me. But why would she hold a soaking wet, unsoaped dish instead of putting it back in the sink? You're going to put it away? It's too wet for that lady. Is it heading for a drying rack? If so, why would it be so far away from the sink? Move your glass with one flower out of there and put a drying rack in its place, you dopey freak. But the thing is, the two candidates that ad was supporting won. And who is on the library board matters. In Campbell County, Wyoming, the library system's executive director refused to remove 17 books centered around the experiences of LGBTQ+ people. And I will note, not one of the requests to remove the books had come from a parent whose child looked at or checked out a book that their parents thought was inappropriate. Not one. And while the library board initially backed her, the county commission then quickly appointed 4 new members to the board, who then moved to fire her. Although, before the vote, they did get this impassioned speech from a local resident.
When you start outlawing books because of your personal, religious, and moral beliefs in this country, you're going against the Constitution, you're going against what we were founded for, and you're personally an affront to myself and most of the people I know. This is a shit show, and I'm embarrassed for this board. Thank you.
Wow, I have to say, usually when you see a white guy with a bushy mustache holding a microphone at a town meeting, you get worried. But he proved my expectations wrong there. Kudos to you, guy I'd otherwise assume stormed the Capitol. But for all the support the argument to defend the library director got in that room, just a little later, the board did this.
I make a motion to vote for Terry Leslie's position to be terminated as the Campbell County Public Library Director.
All in favor?
Wow. There you have it.
Yeah, they fired her. And for what it's worth, you shouldn't be allowed to fire someone while wearing this dumb of a hat. That was bought on a beach day in Cabo. You screamed, how much por favor and how much De Niro? And the guy claimed he was giving you a deal while charging you double. And you were like, gracias. I'm going to wear this to the meeting where I fire a librarian despite public opposition. The Cabo hat I got for muy caro pendeja. That means on sale. Gracias, senor. Muy bien. The point is, these groups have all sorts of levers they can pull, and if all else fails, they can even try and cut the library's funding altogether. In Jamestown, Michigan, community members voted to defund a library after an intense campaign by residents who accused it of grooming children and promoting an LGBTQ ideology, despite the fact that of roughly 67,000 items in the library's collection, only around 90 of them had LGBTQ themes. Yet that vote eliminated 84% of their annual budget. So naturally, the library was immediately under threat of closing. At a board meeting afterward, one librarian pointed out that this was a natural consequence of voters' actions.
I am shocked that the people are surprised that the library will close.
You can't vote to eliminate funding for the library and say you don't want it to close. You can't say you're doing it just to send a message and not expect there to be consequences to your actions. It's not a symbolic move. It's a death sentence. And I hope the community is prepared to live with that.
Exactly. Why wouldn't the library close if most of its funding is cut? Any establishment, whether it's a business or a government service, needs money to operate. If you don't believe me, just visit your local circuit city and ask them to explain it to you. Now, thankfully, last November, there was a vote to restore that library's funding through next year, and it passed comfortably. And that is the thing here. Protecting libraries is a fight, but it's also winnable. It just means standing up to all these bullshit attacks whenever they occur, and they are occurring a lot. This year alone, more than 100 bills have been introduced in state legislatures intended to ban or restrict material in school and public libraries, some of which are bonkers. Just last week, the Alabama House advanced a bill allowing librarians to be arrested for the content they allow on shelves. And Arkansas and Oklahoma have already passed laws to make it possible to prosecute librarians for distributing obscene content. This is all madness. And it speaks to the need for libraries to be vigorously defended. And I know it is not shocking that an episode of this show would advocate to support your local libraries. It's pretty much implicit in our whole vibe. My suit, glasses, and desk all practically scream, support your local libraries. To which the rest of my body would say, out of respect, shh. But depending on where you live, you might need to pay attention if people start showing up at your local library board meeting and reading ear-catching parts of young adult books, because while it is understandable for parents to want to have a say in what their kids can check out from the library, it is not their right to have a say in what can be checked out at all. And it frankly doesn't feel like a coincidence that so much of this conversation concerns LGBTQ themes. As it seems this is just the latest way to try and push that community out of public spaces, to send a message that their lives and stories aren't welcome, and by extension, to tell anyone growing up questioning that the answers are off limits to them. All of which is just basically a long way of saying libraries badly need our support right now. So
I
they
am
continue
binding
to serve the
off.
diverse needs of their communities, while also, of course,
Guys, I'm binding off. Oh my god. Okay.
lending out air fryers, seeds, and copies of the Berenstein Cheetahs. We all loved those books as kids. Oh, and before we go tonight, in case there are any book look type organisations doing a report on this show, I'll save you the trouble and do the chart myself. 10 fucks, 3 shits, 3 dicks, and 3 cocks. Fuck off, book looks. Oh, look, I just made it 11. That's our show. Thanks so much for watching. Now, excuse me, I have something that I badly need to return to the library before midnight. Good night.
By the way, out of the people watching, how many of you still go to the library as an adult? I don't mean as a child. Let me know if you want to. How many of you, as an adult, visit the libraries? I do.
Feels like a dream, feels like magic. Now I believe I can have it. Tamu, tamu. All of my wishes came true. Shop like a billionaire. Shop like a billionaire. Tamu.
Download the Temu app and shop like a billionaire.
A few months ago, to celebrate my friend's birthday, I went on a Victory Casino cruise. And not only did everyone get seasick almost immediately, but we also lost all the money we brought in to gamble with. It was one of the best days of my life. For a good portion of the past century, getting on a boat that reeks of piss and wobbling your way out just far enough into the ocean so that laws don't exist anymore was one of the only ways to legally gamble in the United States. It had such a convoluted barrier of entry that most people could go their entire lives without ever being tempted to do it. Just don't go to Nevada and you'll probably never see a casino. In 2024, This is no longer the case.
Only on FanDuel. DraftKings. Bet MGM. Prize Picks.
Underdog. Hard Rock's bet.
Valley Bet.
PointsBet.
ESPN Bet. 365.
Smack me in the mouth with all of
If you watch any sports at all, ads for sports betting have become inescapable. Even if you muted every commercial and closed your eyes until the game came back on, it's still plastered everywhere. DraftKings promos pop up in the middle of a play, there's BetMGM billboards behind home plate, FanDuel logos on the court, on the microphone. They come at you from every angle, pepper spraying you in the face so you don't notice they just pulled your pants down. They've made it so watching sports and betting on sports are just two sides of the same coin. Like, you can't have one without the other. It's become so normalized that it might be easy to forget that gambling can be kind of bad, actually. About 10 million people in the US alone struggle with gambling in some way, a good portion of which are under the age of 25. Gambling addicts attempt suicide at a rate 15 times higher than the general population. The average debt of a gambling addict can range from $15,000 to $90,000. But where most people would see this as a problem, a few people saw it as an opportunity. All that extra money that could be siphoned from struggling families and into the pockets of like 12 CEOs. And we're not doing that because... So in 2018, the Supreme Court overruled the federal ban on sports betting. And since then, Americans have collectively lost over $245 billion on it. That's almost $1,000 per person, and that number was from last year. But the bombardment of playful advertising filled with famous celebrities would make you think it's just a harmless, fun game you can play on your phone. Kevin Hart, Post Malone, Chris Rock, LeBron James, Kevin Hart, Peyton Manning, Jamie Foxx, Eric Andre, Patton Oswalt, Vanessa Hudgens, the guy from that Kendrick Lamar song, Kevin Hart. Even the Talk Tua podcast is sponsored by Better. Why is it always the people you trust the most?
You don't need to know everything about every sport.
Good, because I don't.
Yeah, me either. All you need is a feeling and a phone.
That is such a bold way to advertise your product. You don't have to know anything about sports in order to bet on them. In fact, we would prefer you didn't. Look, this guy's just chilling in the hot tub. He doesn't even know what sport he bet on if he won money. So go ahead, just open the app and
Oh
start
my god, my
mashing
legs
buttons. I
are
don't know, like, where do you
completely
think they
asleep.
got all the money to shell out to these celebrities? Could it be that maybe Prize Picks isn't the secret gateway to riches beyond my wildest imaginations, and maybe they're just trying to get my debit card number so they can take all my disposable income? Whether or not you think sports betting should be illegal, and I'm not even necessarily saying it should be, the fact that they're allowed to advertise it like this is fucking insane. Imagine a cigarette commercial that was like, oh my god, this is so good. This is the best I've ever felt in my life. I'm on top of the world. Typically, the only tobacco ads you see are like anti-vaping PSAs. And I hope there's a future where advertising for betting...
So let's check one more time before I cut the yarn, because I already cut it once and it was one sleeve longer and one sleeve shorter. Let us... They're not equal. Oh my god. But you know what? Okay, once again, I hope with blocking I will make them equal, because I am not... hold on, do you even see? Guys, I am not remaking anything. So, with your permission, I'm just gonna bind off. Hold on, I already missed a stitch over here. So blocking will hopefully change everything to the better. Okay. Okay, I think... Okay. Okay. Maybe I should leave it for tomorrow. I feel so exhausted. I didn't even do a lot today. I rested the entire day and I'm exhausted. What is happening to me? Now my crochet hook doesn't work. What? In God's name. Okay. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm cutting. I'm actually breaking off the yarn. That's it. It's broken. It's done. Okay, now let's pull back these. Let's weave in everything. And today I learned from Kelsey, from Passionate Knits, I learned that when weaving in the ends, you have to go in 3 directions to make sure that those ends are not coming out. So I went this way, now I'm going this way. That was a very useful trick she gave me, because I have to be honest and tell you, my ends do come out for some reason. And I thought that maybe the solution would be to sew them in. But Kelsey said to take it into 3 directions. So I went this way, and now I'm gonna go this way. Hopefully it will not move, because I intend this ribbing to be inside out. For example, if my brother would like to how do you call it, pull up his sleeves, like fold it up to free his hands, he can do that, because I'm gonna make sure there are no open ends on the inside. I might even sew it. Okay. Here we go. Here we go again. Here we go again. One sleeve is longer, one is shorter, but I'm gonna block them. And I hate this, but I am not unraveling anymore. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for spending this time with me. Usually it's just me and my dog, so now my dog is asleep, and thank you so much for watching. I have the sweater all done, all nice and done. I just need to weave in the ends like this, for example. I need to put them, sew them into place. I'm really loving the neckline, and I'm happy that my brother tried it on and it fits him more or less. I'm just hoping that with some good old-fashioned, hold on. Oh, there we go. I'm hoping that with some good old-fashioned blocking, these sleeves are going to be equal to each other. Bye bye. Have a nice Sunday. It is already, oh my god, it is Monday. Okay, bye bye. Have to go to work, to bed, and then to work.